Sonia with Artsy Solutions, and welcome to part 2 of the 2022 January craft challenge from my blog. And the hashtag is hashtag JanuaryFave2022. And for this one, you had to, the theme was winter ink. January is a winter theme, and you had to use ink. And I used some. You could use at least 3 items from the list, which was ink spray, distress inks, paint, alcohol ink, printer refill ink, ink pen like ballpoint, magic marker, Sharpie, highlighter, etc. So the ones that I used some ink, some alcohol ink. I used paint, and I used some distress inks, and I also used some coffee, but that wasn't a part of it. And the theme, it is supposed to be winter theme, but I kind of did more of a springy kind of theme on it, but that's fine. So basically what I did was I used several different distress oxides, and then I also used these types of alcohol inks, and I used this pearlescent watercolor paint, and it left like a shimmery kind of shine to it, and then some coffee. So basically what I did was I just coffee dyed some index cards, 3x5s and 4x6s, double-sided. And then I also coffee dyed and sprayed some of the 4x6s, and some of them are different textures. Some of them aren't 100% covered in coffee or ink or whatever, because I wanted to give it that look of different colors and hues and all of that, you know. So these are the 4x6s, and then also I took some vellum, and I got my vellum from Staples. And it's supposed to be good. It's compatible with most inkjet and laserjet printers. Let me just take this out so you can see without a glare. Well, hopefully you can see without a glare. Goodness. Yeah, compatible with most inkjet and laserjet printers. So, and the good thing about this vellum is not only does the ink from your printer remain on here without smearing, you can also, I did some stamping on here using some distress oxide, and it stays too, it doesn't smear. But I just kind of let it dry, and I just gave it like 15-20 minute dry time just to see. And then here is another one, a piece of plain vellum that I did some stamping on, and different colors, and it remained, and it was distress oxide, and it wasn't, this one was just regular, just distress ink, not oxide ink, just regular ink. So, and it dried as well. That's what that brown is on here. And what I did with this was I have a whole bunch of old books and things in my stash from just vintage stuff, and all I did was put the vellum in the printer and then just printed out copies. And then I created like a collage of things on here, and then that's how I came up with this vellum printout, this collage. I just used different things, like vintage stuff that I've already got, and that's how I came up with some of these. So here's one, and I love how, like I said, you can see on both sides, and it still shows like the torn edge of the papers. I love all that. And here was another one. This was the back of this. And then the guest check in the book. Just little different things. I just wanted to create something of my own. And then There's another one. And then there's another one. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. But anyway, those were made using some of my vintage papers and things that I'd gotten off eBay. And I have a vintage book with a whole bunch of stuff in it. And so here's some graph paper that I did some coffee dyeing with. Pretty much did the same pattern with the coffee dyed paper as I did with the index cards and stuff. And then we have some more colorful watercolor papers. I love those patterns and the colors. These could be used this winter, because winter it isn't necessarily white and blue and gray and whatever. It can also have pinks and things in them. And this right here, I don't know if you can see that or not too well. Basically what I did was I took this, because I wanted to create some patterns of my own, and I just took this this metal, whatever it's called, filigree, or I don't know what it's called, and kind of embossed with it. And let's see, on the other side, it didn't really pick up on the other side, but that's fine. And then I just have some pearlescent inks on here, and then on this one I put like a needle on here and some toothpicks and some other sewing needles and some little eyelets, just to kind of get different textures. It's kind of hard to see, but and then I just kind of put some paint spatter on there. I like how it came out. That was the needle and thread, and then a needle, you know, just to get different things. And then there was a stamp, and I just kind of went around the edges of some of these with the watercolor paint. And then I used a doily on these two, which is kind of hard to see because it was a paper doily. I feel like if it was a fabric doily, it would have did better. And then we have some more pearlescent paints, and then I just took some coffee and a lid and dipped the lid into the coffee and then made these little rings, these little coffee rings, to give it that rustic look. And then the same thing here. And I really love this bluish marble kind of look. And then we have all of our papers. We have cardstock, and we also have copy paper. This was copy paper and this was cardstock, because I'm going to probably use these as pockets and things, so I need to make them thicker than these right here. So let me show you how I made all this. Okay, so I'm going to make like several different types of papers, and they're going to be from a combination of printed out stuff, like collaged and printed out things from like old book pages and music sheets and ephemera and stuff like that. And then I'm also going to use some watercolors, and I'm just going to take different little odd objects lying around, and I'm just going to create my own patterns and things like that. So to start out, I've already made some. I took this vellum, I got this vellum paper at Staples, and basically it's like, it's an inkjet printing. It's, let's see, translucent, compatible with most inkjet and laser printers. I don't know if you can see that or not. What I did was I took like some of my books that I have, come around like this, and I just created like a collage on my printer and just kind of made some stuff, you know. Let's see. Yeah. That's what I did, was I just came up with a collage of like some of the vintage things that I already have at home. And I put a little guest check on there too. It's not as, it's kind of blurry, but it'll be okay. But with this being vellum, I love how you can see on both sides. So I created several collages using vintage things that I've gotten. Newspapers, photos, and things like that. So and old music sheets. These are like original papers and stuff. So let me just move all this out the way. And then I have this scrapbook that's got like a lot of vintage things in it. And I just took stuff from out of here and just kind of make copies and collages and stuff from them. So let me set this to the side. And some of them I made multiple prints of. But I might just only use one. So I'll probably just use one of these. Here's another one. I think I'll just use one of those. Some I made 3 copies of, some I only made 2 copies of. And I really like this one because it didn't really leave much of a margin. So I could just leave this whole, which I might do. And I like how it showed the torn edge of the paper right in there. Make like 3 copies of that, because who knows what else I might do with it. And then here's a music sheet that I copied, and I love how that came out too with this being vellum. So we've got that, and I'm not sure how stamping on vellum works. So what I'm going to do before I experiment is I'm going to take a solid sheet of vellum and I'm going to do some stamping on it. Okay, so I'm going to try and use this not Oxide ink, but this Distress ink Walnut stain from Tim Holtz. And then I'm using this Graphic 45 stamp set, Script and Gargle. And we're just going to see what we can come up with. And I'm just going to randomly stamp wherever and see how it picks up. I put both of these stamps on the stamping block. And we're going to just see. I'm just going to kind of put it like at an angle. It picks up a little bit. Let me try to get some more script. Which is fine because I don't need a whole lot anyway, because I'm going to add other images on here. And I just need like a base kind of print. It picked up, but I don't know how well it's going to dry. But I will give it time, because the type of ink that's in here on the Distress ink versus your ink that's in your printers, I'm not real sure how well this is going to stay. Like if it dries pretty well or not on vellum anyway. Okay. Then I'm going to try a different color. I'm going to add some pink. Here's some worn lipstick. I'm going to use this Bow Bunny floral stamp. And then see how this comes out. That's pretty. Very pretty. See how I'm wanting to put like the different colors together, but I'm not going to do too many yet because I want to wait and see if it dries. But while I wait on that to dry, or to see if it actually is going to dry, I'm going to go ahead and take some copy paper and I'm going to create some of my own. I'm going to go ahead and start doing some painting and collaging. I'm just going to take this leftover paint on here. That's pretty. Okay, so I'm just going to take some bits and pieces of different shapes. And I'm going to use them as like a stencil. And I'm just going to randomly just put some stuff on here, just cause. And I just want to see how it's going to turn out. Hopefully I won't mess my needles up. If I do, I just have to get some more, I guess. Okay, and I'm just going to, I think I'm going to take some Distress ink and spray it on there. And I'm using different colors. These are from Bakers and Crafters. Blue, red, brown, and yellow. And there are more colors offered on the Sweets by Felicia on her website where baking and crafting meet. But this is what I'm going to start out with. Let me get my rag. Okay, so we're just going to and I'm going to come back through with some brown. And then I'm going to take some of this pink Distress Oxide ink. And I'm just going to rub it on this glass mat. I'm going to add some water to it, because we all know once you add water to oxide inks, it activates it. I'm just going to splash some of this on there. I'm going to try to hold this in place. I don't think I need too much. Well, we did get some shapes or patterns, which isn't too bad. So I'm just going to wipe these off. And then I'm going to add some chicken wire. And we're going to see what we can come up with this. And I'm going to take some of this twisted Citron. Add some water. And then I'm just going to paint over top of the chicken wire. Oh, we have a small little pattern. I like that. And then I'm just going to go around the edges of the paper with some watercolor ink. And I've got different types. I've got this King Art pearlescent watercolor, and it leaves like a little shiny finish. So I'm going to use that first. Let me clean up this mess and then I'll be right back. Okay. First, I'm going to use some of this green because I don't want to waste anything. So I'm just going to kind of go around the edge with it, like with a swirl. And I'm just going to flip it over. And I like how the colors blend through. And what I'm going to do is just add just a little bit more water on here. And I'm just going to rub the paper across it and let it pick up the colors like that. It's faint, but it's on there. But the paper is still light enough to where if you write on it, you can still see your ink. So it's not like too dark. Okay, so we basically got most of that up. Now I'm going to come back through with some of these shimmery colors. I think I will use a little bit of this pink. It's pretty. I'm just going to go around the edge with it. And I'm going to do basically the same thing I did with the green when I used the brush with it. Just kind of give it like a little swirly border. And I'm just going to flicker on some of the color, the pink. Flip this over. Did the same thing. I like that. It has that spring kind of look to it. So we're going to let that dry, then we're going to work on some more. So what I'm probably going to do is just put this in fast-paced mode while I work on some more. dry. So we have our index cards, the different sizes. These are 3x5 index cards, and most of these were just coffee dyed, and then some of them were coffee dyed, and I also sprayed some inks on them and rubbed them across some inks that I had laying on the glass mat. So that's what these look like. And some of them I didn't put a whole lot of coffee on because I still wanted to have like different colors and different textures on the cards. So, okay, so those are the index cards. The 3x5s and, what was it, 5x7, 4x6, 3x5s and 4x6 cards. And then here's the graph paper. Some was coffee dyed and some was a combination of coffee dyed, and I sprayed different inks and things on them. So most of the graph paper. Now this one is a little brittle because I think I let it stay in the oven too long. Some of them, it's darker on one side and lighter on the other side, but that's fine. So that's the graph paper. And then here is the colorful paper that I used some of those pearlescent, the King Art pearlescent watercolor inks. I like the different swirls and textures and colors of it. And I love how the crunchy of how it feels. And then here's some more watercolors. And it leaves like a little shine. And this one had some coffee dyed and the pearlescent watercolors. And it also had some of the Distress Oxide inks that were still left on the glass mat. And I just kind of swirled them in together with it. So it's got a combination of several different inks on here. And I just love these colors because I'm probably going to use them for like a spring, maybe even Valentine's or something. I don't know. I like those colors though. Or just shabby chic in general. You know. I'll figure it out. But these will definitely go into a journal. What I may do is I may scan some of these and keep them. And then make some digitals out of them. We'll see. And then, now the coffee paper, this stack right here was just regular copy paper. And then this stack was 110-pound cardstock. So, this is a little bit thinner. But I made this thick because I'm probably going to do some stamping on it. And these will be like pockets and envelopes. So, I needed something a little bit thicker than just the regular copy paper so that it could hold stuff in it. But, yeah, this is just the coffee paper. So, and then the cardstock. And some of them, like I said, some of them are a little bit lighter. So I wanted to have different textures and different hues and all that. So that's all the coffee papers. And then to my surprise, I let the ink dry and it's on there. Because I didn't know if the ink I knew the inkjet printer on the printer was going to work on the Vellum because this type of material was made for inkjet and laserjet printers. But I wasn't sure if like this type ink, the Oxide inks, were going to stay and dry without smearing, but they did. They stayed. They dried and they're not coming off. So I guess I'm on the right side. Well, like I said, that's why I love Vellum, is because you can see the colors on both sides. I love that. So what I'll probably do with some of my these ones right here that I had printed out earlier, I think I'm just going to leave them as is instead of stamping on them. I think I'll mess up the integrity of it. So I'm just going to leave those as is. I may, depending on what I use this for, do some more stamping or add some more things to them. And same with this. I don't know yet what I'm going to do with that. But yeah, this was my ink stuff. My ink challenge, my January blog ink challenge, and the 3 different, I used at least 3 different inks. I used alcohol sprays, different ones of these. I used Distress Oxide inks, and I used some watercolor inks, as well as coffee. Coffee wasn't necessarily a part of it, but I just added it in there anyway. So that's what I used for my inks for the blog, January Fave 2022 blog challenge. So I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos and my social media sites and my blog. And as always, I thank you guys so much for watching.